Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
So welcome in Breakout Room 1, and I think this is the first presentation from Stella Polikarpus from Estonia, and I think that she will introduce herself.
Yes, thank you. As I already talked in plenary, my name is Stella, and I'm working in Academy of Security Sciences in Estonia, in Tallinn, and I'm very happy that I can be here and have been able to take part of this project because I'm also doing my PhD, and it's about how to train situation awareness better. So how can we use these virtual simulations to train incident commanders? And it has been a very interesting project for me to take part of. And my team is a bit sorry that they can't be here today, but we had a successful dissemination seminar last week where I could say thank you for all of them. And I will present some of the results, what we mainly have learned from this project, and hope to be short, to give some time for you to ask some questions. So what was our role in this project was to help to develop this tool, as we were not a part of the FireMind project you heard about. So it was a lot of learning for us how to help to develop this tool. And we have done quite a lot of work with a standalone tool. Today, you tested out the web-based tool, but we also created this standalone tool that is presented more in Breakout Room 2 by Frank. And we have done some tests, and I think I can give you a quite good answers also about this computer-based tool that we produced in this project. But there was this work output 3 methodologies for applying FireFront across different training platforms. And we're supposed to lead this, but because of Brexit and because of virus and pandemic, we have had a lot of rearranging and replanning in our project. And the different training platforms is now like a different tools. One is a web-based tool, and the other is a computer-based tool. And also we have created several different scenarios. So the baseline scenario you could test out, but we have other scenarios. And also we have used the Moodle platform by Catalonia, and Annam is going to explain it probably more. But in April 2019, before everything crashed down, we were able to meet in Tallinn, and I think it was really nice that we could host our project partners in Tallinn. And then we had a very great ideas how we will present the probes using the GPS signal. So it is going to pop up the probes on your phone, and you can do like a real life simulations using the tool, and how we can use it with XPR 360 degree. If we have users, and I see Steven is here. Now it is called Expo. So everything has changed during the project, but we have some ideas, and I really hope that this will be not the last project, so we can carry on developing the tool to be usable in a very different training situations, not only behind the computer. But as I told you, we use this computer-based tool. We installed it in a classroom in Rescue College, Väike-Maarja, it's outside of, and it was a very good way to test the tool, to install it in a different computers, to think through how can we collect the data. If we have a computer-based tool installed in the whole computer class, how me as a teacher have to guide the people to be sure that I get the data. from the tool. We learned that what kind of equipment we need, that if I want to run the test with several people, the headphones needs to be used because they won't be in the same time seeing the videos. And during those tests, we used two scenarios. So one was the baseline scenario that you also did today, but the other one is Estonian-based scenario. It's about fire in a factory, like a factory building. And we have 20 incident commanders who were trained to become incident commanders. They took part of this, and 16 firefighters took part of those tests. And we learned a lot about the tool. And what were the main things is it was a surprise for us that actually the feedback from the tool was the main thing that we learned from the students, that the visualization of the feedback is very important. So in a left hand on the screen, you see how we visualized it in a standalone tool before tests in Estonia, and how we visualize it now. And the reason why we have taken the green color out and this bright colors and made it more this academic view is that the students got excited about doing the tool, and they wanted to, they took it like a manometer in a fire pump. So more is better. So they started to take these colors in a way that we didn't want them to take it in. So we had to change the visualization of the feedback, and also we're still struggling how to phrase the feedback in such a way that it would be very useful for incident commanders. And in our national seminar, it also came out that it's very important to give the feedback in a very clear way, but to give a very short and clear feedback, we need to have a lot of scenarios and a lot of tests, so we can be sure that we don't say based on one scenario that a person has this or that kind of bias, or that they would really understand that this is the situation awareness and situational understanding is very much connected to the scenario that you are solving. So we have to run a lot of tests to make sure that it is something that is consistent and it's not depending on the scenario at all. We also learned what kind of error messages we need, so the students would know that they have skipped, for example, too many probes, a timeout, and then they won't get the result, and that should be given to them already during the scenario, that they are too slow. And also what was interesting in Estonian language scenario, the radio communication was on the top of the video, so they could watch the video and listen at the same time. And the students like that more than the baseline scenario, when you don't really have any language spoken during the video. You have a sound background, but you don't get any information from this audio. So that was also interesting, that the students enjoyed more if they can hear the information also. So we also created a third scenario. So there are 3 scenarios in Estonian languages you can use in the tool. And with creating the third scenario, I think we have found out the quite effective way how to do it. So I have tried to visualize it that there is one instructor who uses the on-scene, so the simulation program, and runs the scenario. Then the other instructor is in incident commander view. And then we both use the one screen to see what is happening. So what we are recording. So the recording was done by the computer where the incident commander view was. And we found out that it's so much easier to make the changes in virtual reality than to make the changes in a video editing. And with the baseline, we had to do a lot of hours of video editing. But with our own scenarios, we could easily make the changes in virtual reality, record it, and just the minimum changes in getting the audio and the video fit. We used Camtasia for that, but you can use any video recording program you want to use for this. So what we are encouraging for other users is to build the scenario always using collaborative authoring process model, because it's so much easier if we build in a virtual reality, you build with other person also. So at least 2 people should be building the scenario. And when we phrase the probes and dialogue before starting to doing the video recordings, we saved a lot of times, because then we knew what we need to present in a video and audio. We knew the probes, so we already knew what is the video needs to be about. Then we created the videos, then we added the scenario into the FireFront. That is really a very easy to do. And then you pilot the scenario to make sure that more people agree what is relevant and what is irrelevant information. With the situational awareness probes, there isn't so much fight. True and false is visible in the video, so that's easy. But with relevant and irrelevant, you really need experts to agree why is it good. But we also translated the web-based tool into Estonian language, and yesterday Graham gave me the results. We have right now 38, or then I hope it's already more, but 38 people did from firefight background did the scenario, and 28 non-firefight background. And what we found out from this was what we have been expecting from the results, that firefighters have similar actual situation awareness to non-firefighters. And that could be explained because the information is presented inside the scenario. So anyone can see the scenario, and there is no, the pre-training doesn't play so much difference to see it. But firefighters have a slightly higher actual situational understanding than the non-firefighters. And that can be explained because we train our firefighters what is the information they should seek in the incident. So we train them to think that this is important. So they are more, the actual situational understanding is a little bit better than people who don't know what they should consider relevant in this situation. And in Estonia, firefighters and non-firefighters all think that everything is relevant. So people are more keen to get more information in. And this is something that I learned during the project also myself, that we haven't never really talked about the limits of our brain to people before. We haven't told them that it's not so good to look for all information. We always thought that more is better. And thanks to this project, we have found out that this is not true, that more is always better. And firefighters are less likely to accept information as true than non-firefighters, and that can be because of this training, what we have given them. But I hope we will have more data coming in. And it's good to know that the firefighters, they perceived situation awareness and perceived situation understanding is higher than non-firefighters, so they at least feel like they are better than non-trained people to do this. So the bias we need to get, we need to get there, that they will understand if they have a higher bias, that they don't get it, that they don't, the actual situation awareness is low. So we need to start to train this, but it has been a great journey because in Estonia we didn't train 4 years back. We didn't train anything about situation awareness. So it has been a fast developing project for us and our incident commanders to learn about it. And I'm sorry for going over time.
No worries, Stella. There's time enough. Perhaps there are any questions we would like to put to Stella. Otherwise, I have one. Because Stella, what recommendation would you give to our international colleagues as to the use of FireFront?
I think that more scenarios is better. not that more information is better to collect in incidents, but more scenarios is better. So I think we should take this tool very seriously and put it in a practice with a very different scenarios. So the incident commanders would start to see the patterns. So it wouldn't be just like one time I got this result and now I think this or that about myself, but that they train with a tool, many different scenarios, fires, car crashes, airplane crashes, scenarios that they have never in a real life, they haven't never attended to. So they could see how they would behave or think about what kind of mental models they would create in those kind of simulations that they probably in a real life can't attend, because we hope so that the planes don't crash or the trains don't crash in a real life. But I think we can create those virtual simulations to train what information they would seek there and how relevant they would think this information is. So everyone, please use the tool.
Thank you, Stella. There was a question from Frank about the differences between the countries. I think that question will be answered later on in the plenary session. So we'll skip that for now, but please hold on to it for the plenary session. And a colleague Gerrit of the Netherlands made the comment that he made the test now for the second time in 4 months, and that ASA, PSA, ASU and PSU are pretty consistent. Bias seems to be completely different, however. Is there something wrong with him in this, for instance? En natuurlijk niet, Gerrit, er niks mis met je. But Stella, can you think of some sort of explanation?
I think it actually highlights the importance of the feedback, because probably getting the feedback from first time helped you to understand what the bias is about, and you shouldn't be confident if you don't get what is happening. And that's why I'm hoping at least that the bias has gone smaller. So you actually understand your actual and your perceived situational awareness, or your actual and perceived situational understanding are more closer together. And that is fantastic news if it is like that. So I hope that the feedback that you got from the first time has helped you to do this time a better job.
Okay. I think that is a good moment to switch over to me. So let me just start my presentation.
Yes, I would like to give the floor to Hans now.
Very observant, very observant. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Hans Hazebroek, Senior Researcher at the Fire Service Academy of the Dutch Institute for Safety, and besides that, I'm still a Senior Officer in the Gelderland Midden Fire and Rescue Service. I have participated along with Stella and Anna in the FireFront project from the very beginning, and I'm very proud of the very practical results we have achieved in close cooperation between 6 partners with each a different language, etc., which has been quite a challenge, but eventually the results were really great. I think that the Dutch Fire Service Academy sees a lot of importance in decision making as a very critical part of firefighting and rescue. We actually think that decision making and situation awareness are critical parts of firefighting and rescue. So we perform quite a lot of research into this topic, and we put situation awareness and situation understanding central in our research programs. That's why we're more than delighted to have been able to take part in the FireFront project, where knowledge of academics and operational firefighters was combined. I will share with you our experience from a Dutch perspective, which focuses on the importance of situation understanding, the collection of data, and our recommendations. And of course, there will be room for questions, which you can put into the chat, and Anna will collect them for you. Okay. first of all, I'd like to underwrite the importance of and explain situation understanding in the fire service. Situation understanding begins by picking up signals, whether they are images, sounds, smells of a particular situation or incident. And to be situationally aware is about the number of images, sounds, and smells we can pick up as a human being and to place them in our active memory. The next step is to give meaning to each of the images, these sounds, and these smells, and to place them as pieces in the puzzle which eventually forms the total image of the incident. Most of these steps are subconscious, so we're not even aware that this is the way our image of incidents is being formed, and it's called situation awareness. In this research, we have emphasized the next step, which follows the picking up of signals, the sense-making process, because this results in decisions being made on the fire ground. This is about interpreting the signals, which are important and which are not. This also is at least in part a subconscious process because we tend to be confronted with so much information, as Graham said, that we cannot regard everything as useful. In earlier research, for instance, our recent pilot study into situational incident command, we have again concluded that no single person can, on their own, fully understand the incident unless it's very basic. So I think there are 4 main positive outcomes of the FireFront project. First, we have developed a training tool that can be used to train crew commanders in quickly developing situation understanding. And I think that the tool can be adapted quite easily for other firefighters, officers, senior officers, if we only change the scenarios and the questions. Second, the second outcome is that we now have a tool with which we can confront each participant with the fact that he or she, as is everyone else, is imperfect. So that in reality, you will need help of other team members if you want to understand the incident fully. And we hope this will give participants a literally different view upon incidents and their own role in decision making.
Hans, I think that your presentation is not continuing to the next slide.
It's still supposed to be on the importance of situation understanding. The third positive outcome, I think, is the fact that we now have a tool with which we can measure situation understanding. And because of this validated tool, we can use it in other future research. And for instance, for example, at the moment we are in discussion with the University of Leiden to do new research into incident command. And in this research, we intend to use FireFront as a means to determine whether a proposed change in a system of incident command actually leads to better understanding and decision making of the incident commanders. And fourth and last, FireFront has enabled us to reconnect to a number of international and academic partners. And simply that process has broadened our perspective as researchers. Just as in firefighting, as a researcher, you sometimes need a critical question or a suggestion from a peer to push your research to the next level. And this we hope to continue over the next few years. Then I'd like to continue with the collection of data. This has been quite a difficult challenge for us at first, because our original intention was to use the desktop version to develop specific Dutch scenarios and to organize testing days at fire service training centers where participants would be accompanied by researchers who would provide feedback. And our aim was to have 30, perhaps 50 participants and to lead each participant through the scenarios and then give them the feedback as researchers. But then, of course, COVID-19 happened, and it necessitated a switch in the way we looked at the whole process. And what we actually did was use the flexibility of the fire service and we switched over to a whole online process, and so online data collection. What we actually did was we organized 3 evenings where we gathered the data online, but still accompanied by researchers. So there was a conference call with about 30 participants from several regions where there was a researcher. The participants did the research, and then we could reflect on the research and the feedback as a researcher. And after that, we changed over to a wholly online system of data collection. We did a shout out through social media, both by the Twitter accounts of Ricardo, myself, and of the Fire Service Academy, and which resulted in over than 1,300 participants, which was an amazing result, I think, and which also shows that it's a hot topic. Everyone wants to know more about situation understanding, wants to know more about incident command, simply because firefighters always want to do the best job possible, I think. So we did the test, and after the test, all the participants were asked to reflect on the tool itself, because you can have a very nice tool, but if everyone thinks it's rubbish, then we should change over to a different system. This evaluation was based on the Kirkpatrick model, which is a specific model used for evaluating results of training and learning programs. And actually, everyone was quite positive about the feedback. What we actually saw was that most participants had a very positive attitude, said that they gained knowledge and skills. We do think that the feedback from the FireFront tool can be further enhanced, can be made better, so that it's made easily understandable for all participants. I still think that the feedback as it is at the moment is more aimed at academics. People have been to university than to crew commanders, and I think that it has to be made more better accessible. And then I switch over to the recommendations from the Dutch point of view. First of all, I think it's very important to absorb the tool as it is, or when it's been made a little bit better, into training, both in basic training for crew commanders, but also in the regular training program. Because as Stella said, situation awareness and understanding isn't something which happens at a single moment. And if we have to make people aware of their situation awareness and understanding in general, you have simply to do the tool and the scenario more times, and even over time. So perhaps if we should, if there were a new training for crew commanders, you should do it at the start, in the middle, and at the finishing of the training, so that you can actually see whether a person grows into the role of crew commander and situation understanding during that training. Second of all, the FireFront tool is now aimed at individual crew commanders, and I think it can be remade or adapted quite easily into a tool which also can be used as teams. As we said earlier, if we know that everyone has his own limitation or pitfall regarding situation awareness, and that we need the team to counterbalance this, it would be great if we could train situation awareness as a team as well. But then it would be great if we had an adaptation of the tool to make the whole team understand how they can best support each other, making that situation awareness, and to train the process. Third of all, as I said, I think a recommendation would be to invest in the feedback. To simply phrase it in more basic or simple terms so that more people can gain from the experience. Fourth of all, provide appropriate knowledge for first responders. We have seen in this and other studies that giving meaning to facts requires knowledge. Knowledge of ourselves and our team, but also of the incident, of a fire, of a road traffic accident, of a gas leak, etc. Providing first responders with the appropriate knowledge isn't as simple as it seems. As firefighters are confronted with a whole range of incidents, all requiring specific knowledge to understand what's happening. It varies from, as I said, from gas leaks to fires. So and that requires all specific knowledge. And so we cannot train all firefighters for all incidents, simply because there's too much knowledge necessary to train everyone for everything. So what we actually recommend would be a system in which firefighters are equipped for the most common incidents, while specialist knowledge should be available for all non-standard incidents. And last of all, I think what would be really helpful if we had a combination of both the online and the standalone tool, because I think that both tools have their own requirements, but can also fill their own requirements. I think that the online tool is very easily accessible. If you want to have data or train large groups of people, it's an ideal tool to use. On the other hand, if you want to train more specific incidents, the standalone tool will be more easily available to change a scenario or to create a whole new scenario. So I think that each of the participating countries should use and have both the online and standalone tools simply to match all the requirements. Are there any questions? Stop.
Perhaps I just make the comment that also in our team, this idea to measure somehow shared situation awareness in the team is something that I think we should look forward all together. It's very important. How could we do that?
Okay, and if that is the final question, then hereby
Jan-Piet Sijp also had a question, Hans. Jan-Piet Sijp.
Sorry?
Yes, I had one question for you, Hans. You advised that it's possible to incorporate this in trainings, the tool. How much coaching do you think is needed to use the tool, or is it possible to do it for an individual by itself?
But I think that with small adaptations to the tool as it is now, it should be readily available for everyone to simply perform this from their own workplace. All we have to do a little bit better, I think, is to give better feedback so that everyone simply can learn from each exercise that they do. But apart from that, if you want to do team training, I do think that an instructor or a trainer would need some background into the subject to know what he or she is talking about and to give the proper feedback to the team. Because as we know, team feedback is even more difficult than individual feedback as it regards to situation understanding.
Thank you.
And one question in the chat, Hans.
Yeah, and I think it goes for both of us. We do the training between the measurements is something that we haven't really yet, as the tool is not implemented fully in our curriculum. We haven't really thought about that, but it will be, we have thought about that, but we haven't implemented it. But it will be that we will use the practical exercises and also virtual simulation-based exercises. But I think this tool is very good because you don't need actually a lot of instructor hours to use the tool because it gives the feedback automatically and calculates the results. But normally when we use the virtual reality, the instructor needs to give the feedback. So that takes a lot of hours of work. But Hans?
Yeah, I agree, Stella. We also haven't implemented the system into training yet, but we did try it out with both crew commanders who were still training and a lot of them who were already operational. And both were very enthusiastic about the tool and its promises. So I think it's not very difficult to implement. And I think that we are all always talking about having the common picture or the right picture of an incident. And I think this tool can assist in making that a correct dialogue and to show people that no one has the complete overall picture of an incident, and that we need each other, and that we have to be very aware of the fact that no one sees everything.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I think we have one more question to you. When you use the tool yourself, is it possible to interpret the results right? Well, that is something that I think we can improve. Me and Hans, we both highlighted that the feedback from the tool could be made better, but to make it better, we need more people who use the tool because then we can phrase the feedback in a better way. So we need to create more scenarios and more people to use the tool so we can improve the quality of the feedback that the tool gives.
And I also think that there isn't a correct answer. As Ricardo and Graham stated earlier, if you do the tool, everyone has its own limitations. The first person has a zoom in and the other zoom out bias. Neither is wrong. It's simply how we deal with those biases. So there isn't a right or wrong result of the test, I think. So I suggest we move on. We move on to Catalonia.
Yes. I share my screen. Okay. Moment. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, I will explain you the ISPC, the Institute of Public Security of Catalonia experience at FireFront project. And first of all, I'm Ana Figueras. I'm doctor in psychology, and from 6 years, I'm the research manager at the firefighter school. And before I was psychologist at the police school and the firefighter school also. And I have experience training our emergency corps in decision making, in how to have the best decision in an emergency situation. And when I have the opportunity to share this fantastic team to work together in this project, it was a great thing because I can link my psychology background with my actual work as a researcher in the firefighters school, because as Ricardo said, there are a lot of research in operational area, but not so a lot of research in human area, and I think that this is an important thing to improve. In the firefighter school, situational awareness is the thing that we were working from long time ago. This is a picture that we have in one of our guides, an operational guide. It's about how to take decisions. Sorry, it's in Catalan, but I think it's understandable. It's you have a reaction, have perception of the situation, comprehension and identification. We project in the future and we react to this. This is the cycle of the situational awareness. And we work a lot in this, and we train a lot to our commanders in this situational awareness, also in the operative way, in the psychological way, in all the ways. But one problem that we have, if we cannot not to give at the, it's not the to give correct how they act. it's not this. I cannot remember the name. The problem that we have, if we cannot collect the data, and we cannot give an understandable data or marks about the situational awareness that they have. And for this reason, to share the teams of FireFront was very interesting for us, because it gives us the opportunity to collect data and to give data, to give correct feedback to our commanders. In the firefighters school, we use simulation, XVR, we work a lot with different scenarios, and we work a lot with situational awareness. And thank you to this project, we can collect all this data. Okay, I will, sorry. Oops. It's a problem? Could be a problem? Yes, or? Oops, sorry. Sorry, it's open. I don't want to open the video. Sorry. In the macro, in the area of the FireFront project, we want to train our firefighters or first level incident commander in the situational awareness. And for this reason, our idea is to install the program in our computer classroom, as Stella did in the beginning of the beginning part of the project, the first years. The first idea was this, but we have the global problem of COVID, of Corona, and we cannot install the standalone tool, and we decided to use the Moodle. Moodle is our virtual classroom that we use normally in our trainings. In the firefighters school, we mix virtual and presential training, and for this reason, for our firefighters, for our students, was not a problem to enter in the tool and use it. What we did is transport or copy the standalone tool with the baseline scenario into Moodle way, into the Moodle platform. And with this, we can collect 120 data from different students. And we have a very nice feedback from them. I have to say that before to do the tool was the same that we have in the standalone tool. We explain them what is situational awareness. We spend 1 hour of the training explaining the situational awareness, situational understanding, the bias, why are they so important for us, and to know the real situation of each one. As I told you, in Moodle platform, it was the same. The questionnaire with an introduction with different questions, questionnaire of video 1, 2, and 3, as the same as the standalone tool, the same that most of you did in the break. And they could see the video and have and answer the questions. This is all. Our problem was the feedback. In Moodle, we cannot have an automatic feedback of the information that they are giving to us. And this is a big problem for us, because we have to transform all of the marks that were collected in Moodle platform in order to work with them in an Excel and different treatments data that we have to do to give them the report. This is a bad thing, but on the other side, we can give them an individual report for each one of our 120 students and give them a feedback, and more personalized feedback. If they have any questions, they answer. And as Hans and Stella told us, I think that we have to work a little bit in this report, because some of the explanations are a little bit hard to understand. This is our first experience with the tool, and these are the results that we have collected. We could see The bias are so lax in our case. They tend to accept more information that they really need. The perception, the personal perception, is very good. They are so sure of what they are talking about or answering the questions. The understanding is so good, but surprisingly, the situational awareness is low. And I don't know what does it happen. It could be that because they are a new first level incident commanders, they are new in this place or in this new role in working. And I think that if we can retest, perhaps this will be better. For this reason, this is one of our collecting data, but we decided that we have to collect more data and we have to use the tool because Moodle was not a good option for us. And we decided to use, as in Netherlands, the online tool. We translate it into Catalan and we administered it in the last April. And this time we have less students, only 18 students a day, and we collected this data. At this time, we have a difference. Oh, perhaps, do you remember the bias of situational awareness was very low in a lax level. This has been a little bit better or little bit strict. Not it's bias as we said during all the conference is not good or bad. And then we have that the situational awareness was very good. I have to say that these 18 students have a different profile than the other 120. They have more experience, but I cannot generalize the conclusion that our trained firefighters have better situational awareness than not trained, because the numbers are not comparable in this case. The perception is the same, and the FireFront tool in a different in our different versions, but we have a future in front of us, and our future is to use the standalone tool. We want to implement in our computer classroom. We want that all of our students of new commanders and commanders with experience can use it. And on this idea of this objective, we have introduced situational awareness as an important part of our training for commanders. All of our trainers, all of our firefighters are trained in situational awareness. We have specific scenarios to train it before to enter in operational things and areas. And we think that with this tool that we want to use next year, when we will have more than 200 new commanders to train, we want to use the FireFront tool and to generalize the situational awareness in our training. Well, this is all. I don't know if you have any questions.
To raise the situational awareness, we are running out of time.
If there are any questions to Anna, we will try to answer them in the plenary session, which starts in 10 minutes. So please.
Before we,
I fit on my time.
Yeah, you did. In a Moodle, could you also ask the question how sure you are? Could that question also be put in Moodle?
And it was put in Moodle, and it was so difficult then to collect, not to collect the data, to control the data, because I have to download from Moodle and work with the data in Excel and then apply the signal theory that Ram has presented before. It is possible to do. The problem with Moodle is the extract, the report. You cannot have an automatic report. That is the interesting of the tool. See your marks and can have your automatic report about this. But to use this is easy for us. The problem is the report.
Because Moodle is not doing the calculations, and that's why you don't get the report. And also presenting the videos and the probes in Moodle is a bit differently presented than they are in a standalone tool or in a web-based tool. So this is also interesting to look forward in the future. If we have more scenarios, does those presenting the videos, how they are presented also changes the answers because of the how fast you need to click and where you need to click in the screen. So
yes, and the video in Moodle platform can see only seen one time. We have an application inside the Moodle platform. They can only see one time and then disappear for them. They cannot. It's the same idea, but it's different. It's a different way. I prefer to use the online tool or the standalone tool. But
and the standalone tool also calculates the results. So if you have the results phrased in a certain way, then you can import them in a standalone tool, and then it calculates the results.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, we will be replaced to the plenary room. Thank you very much, Hans.
Okay, thank you,
Anna, and all of you.
Thanks to everybody.